And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend into the world of the unknown and the forbidden. Down in the depth where the veil of time is lifted and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of the black figurine of death.
Through all the years of man's existence, no matter what he has learned or has been taught from generation to generation, still he carries in the innermost depth of his mind a certain fear of the darkness, a fear of the night which is somehow associated with death and in actuality is the fear of death itself. Each of us in our lifetime will probably come into contact with some psychic phenomenon, either directly or indirectly through the experience of a relative or an acquaintance, an experience never to be forgotten, and about such an experience is my story tonight. I was there with the others the night he died. We stood at the foot of the bed, Joyce, Harold and I. Amos Johnson's head was cushioned on a pillow and in his hand he had a little figurine.
You sent for us, Uncle Amos?
Of course I did. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here in my room, Harold.
Now, Uncle Amos, there's no need to...
Be quiet. Be quiet, all of you. Ah, you're here too, David.
Yes.
Be quiet. I didn't ask for a speech, young man. I'll do the talking, if you don't mind. I must speak to all of you while I still have time.
Why don't you rest, Uncle Amos?
Rest? Rest? You'd like to see that, would you, Joyce? And David? And Harold? What? No answer from any of you? I know why you cannot say anything, because it's the truth.
No, now see here, Uncle Amos.
Listen to me, young man. These last years of my life, you have all left me alone. You have had more important things to do. That is until tonight. Tonight, you're all here because you know I'm dying. You've come here like a pack of wolves, waiting for me to die, waiting for your chance to inherit my estate.
That isn't true, Uncle Amos.
Oh, it isn't? I think it is. Don't worry, you'll inherit the estate, the three of you, but in the end, you will wish you never had.
What do you mean, Uncle Amos?
Though I will die, we will all see me again. All of you who hated me, and you will know of my presence when you see this.
But that's just a little figurine, Uncle Amos.
You will wish you've never seen it before. You will wish that you never known me, that you never be born. Before you die, you will all learn what fear is. You will learn how it feels to be alone.
Uncle Amos.
Oh, he's dead, Joyce.
Oh no, he can't be.
He's dead, alright?
What's that?
Something dropped out of his hand. Why is the little figurine?
The little figurine lay there on the floor. It had fallen from Uncle Amos' hand just as he died, and when it had struck the floor, it had broken into 3 pieces. I picked them up and held them in my hand. The pieces fit together perfectly, much like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. It was a queer little figure, its arms raised in supplication, a look of fear upon its face. There was something frightening about it. 3 days later, Uncle Amos was buried in the family mausoleum at the north end of the estate. A week after that, we all gathered together at the old house with Carl Sawyer, the executor of the estate.
As you know, your uncle appointed me as executor of the estate and left instructions that the 3 men as 10 days following his death be gathered in this house for a reading of the will.
Read? Why don't you just tell us about the will?
That's a rather unusual possibility, David.
David's right, Mr. Sawyer. It will save a lot of time and trouble.
Okay. Perhaps you are right. Let me see. Now, referring to the disposition of the monies and property, it is to be divided equally among the 3 of you. And, of course, there are certain gifts to the servants.
Naturally?
Yes, naturally. There is a considerable amount of money to be divided even after taxes. Each of you will be independent for life.
I can't understand Uncle Amos willing us the entire estate. The night he died,
Contrary to what you may think, your Uncle Amos was really quite fond of you.
But is that all to the will, Mr. Sawyer?
No, of course no. You will realize that if one of you were to die, his or her share of the estate would be divided between the 2 remaining heirs. But there is one other provision that I don't quite understand.
yes?
Yes. Let me read it, please. The heirs are to reside on the estate for a period of 1 year. And if this is not done, their claim to the estate will be nullified and they are to be left without a penny. Unfortunately, they were present very infrequently during the last years of my life.
That's a rather strange provision.
Yes, isn't it? However, as executor of your uncle's will, it is up to me to make sure the provisions are carried out. And believe me, I feel a deep sense of duty to your late uncle.
The 4 of us discussed the will until the early hours of the morning. We persuaded Sawyer to spend the night with us so he could return to the city in the morning. The house became quite silent, and the only sound I heard was the ticking of the clock on my dresser. I wondered about the provision of the will in which Uncle Amos ordered that we make our residence in his house. I was lying awake in bed thinking about that when...
Mr. David,
Yes, Emily.
I found this in my bedroom tonight.
Oh, let me see it.
Here.
Oh, it's a little black figurine, just like the one my uncle had. You can have it back now, Emily.
It frightened me, so I came to you. I'm scared, Mr. David.
How do you think it got there, Emily?
Well, there is something strange going on in this house, Mr. David, and I have an idea. I think I know who is in bed.
Who's talking in there? Oh, it's you, David. And Emily, you're up rather late, aren't you?
Yes, Mr. Sawyer. I was just going to bed. If you will excuse me.
Good night, Emily.
Good night, sir. I will see you in the morning.
Well, I suppose I'd better get back to bed too. Good night, David.
Well, good night, Mr. Sawyer.
I watched him go back into his room, and I turned and went back into mine. Emily had been on the point of saying something to me, something that was important enough to her to make a special trip to my room. I got back into bed and wondered what she had wanted to tell me. Little by little, sleep clouded my brain, and I was half asleep.
Sawyer, isn't that Emily?
Let's go to her room.
Emily! Is anything wrong?
Try the door, David.
Right, it's unlocked.
The light is on in there.
She's not in bed.
On the floor.
Maybe she fainted.
No, she's dead.
Look, right beside her, there is a little broken black figurine.
One evening about 6 weeks after Emily's death, Harold, Joyce and I were in the living room.
The police told me they'd never be able to find out who did it unless something new turned up.
And it probably won't. Because I've been thinking about Uncle Amu's last words. I wonder if he could come back.
You mean come back after that?
Yes.
Don't be a fool, Harold. When a man dies, he's dead.
But I'm not so sure about that.
You shouldn't talk that way, Harold. It's frightening.
Would you come out with me to the mausoleum, Dave?
Why?
I don't know. I just want to check, that's all.
I don't think either of you should go.
I'll go, Harold.
Well, I won't.
It's okay, Joyce. Alright, David, let's go. Nothing has been disturbed here. It looks just like it did when he was placed here.
Wait a minute. This wasn't here the day he was buried.
What?
This.
That's strange. I didn't see that when I came in.
You probably weren't looking over there. I wasn't either.
Another black little figurine broken, just like the others. We say goodnight about 11 and retired to our rooms. I couldn't get to sleep. I fall into a half doze and then snap out of it again. I felt as if someone were watching me, that there were unseen eyes in the dark waiting for me to fall asleep. I knew it was only my imagination, yet that feeling would not go away. About 3 o'clock, I got out of bed. I decided to return to the mausoleum. As I went out the front door, I noticed a light drizzle had sprung up. Something drew me toward the mausoleum. I walked slowly up the gravel walk to the mausoleum. When I was close enough to see the doorway, I received a distinct shock, for the door was open and there was a circle of light behind it. It was Mr. Sawyer.
David, what are you doing here?
I might ask you the same question, Mr. Sawyer.
I begin to wonder. I don't believe in people coming back after they die, but
Is that the reason for the gun?
I didn't know what I would find. I just wanted to be safe, that's all. Now that I see it's you, I will put it back in my pocket. By the way, David, what are you doing out here?
I was restless. Harold thinks everything that's happened has some supernatural significance. All his talk made me nervous.
Ah, I see. And do you think that there is something supernatural about the way Emily died?
I don't know, Mr. Sawyer. I just don't know.
Sawyer and I returned to the house. I asked him to spend the remainder of the night with us. Besides, I wanted to keep an eye on him. I didn't feel much like sleeping, so I went down to the library, found a book and sat down to read.
David,
Yes?
Mr. Sawyer told me you were down here. What's the matter?
I went out to the mausoleum tonight, about an hour ago. Sawyer was out there. He had a gun in his hand.
Perhaps he was just curious.
Why should he get curious at 3 in the morning?
It does seem rather odd, but...
No! I warn you, stay away from me.
That's Sawyer.
No, it just couldn't happen again. It just couldn't.
We'll see.
Is that you, David?
Yes,
I had a shot.
So did we.
I think it was one of you.
It was Sawyer.
he came out late tonight. I found him out in the mausoleum about an hour ago.
Here's his room.
Try the door.
It's open.
On the floor.
Is he?
Yes, he's dead.
Sawyer lay there on the floor, sprawled in a grotesque position of death. By one outstretched hand was a gun, and by the other broken into 3 pieces was a little black figurine. Harold called the police. They said they would be out as soon as they could. The 3 of us went downstairs to the living room.
I was right. It is Uncle Amos who is behind all this.
It must be. There is no other explanation.
I told you before, there are certain things which cannot be explained, and the death of Emily and Sawyer proved that all.
You still don't think that Sawyer was in back of it all, do you, David?
Hardly.
Will or no will, I'm leaving here now. I'm going upstairs to pack. I will be down in a while.
I'm going to leave too, David. What about you?
I don't know. I still can't make myself believe.
David?
Stay here.
No, I'll go with you.
He has to be alright. Harold!
He doesn't answer. Harold, where are you? Harold, answer us.
His door is open.
He'll be dead just like the others.
No, Joyce. He's not here.
The mausoleum. Uncle Amos came and took him back to the mausoleum.
We went into Sawyer's room. Harold wasn't there, nor was Sawyer's gun. I suppose Harold had picked it up on his way to his room. I decided to go out to the mausoleum to see if Joyce was right, to see if Harold's dead body would be found there. Joyce wouldn't remain in the house alone, so together we started out to the rain-filled night.
Why don't we wait until the police come, Dave? I'm scared.
If this is something supernatural, then they wouldn't be able to help us anyway.
David,
What's the matter, Joyce?
the mausoleum's door's open.
You can stay here if you want, but I'm going in.
No, I'm going with you.
Stay close to me, Joyce.
I will. I don't like it here, David.
Neither do I.
But you're going to remain here for some time.
That's Harold's voice.
That's right.
We thought you were...
Ted? Hardly. But you two will be very soon.
He has a gun, David.
That's right. Sawyer's gun. I've planned this very carefully, David. When the police arrive, they will find you 3 dead and I will be wounded. I tell them Sawyer was behind it all, that he killed both of you out here, and that he came into the house searching for me. There was a fight, the gun went off, and he died.
Then you kill Emily and Sawyer.
Yes, and I'm going to kill both of you too. You don't think I believe all that hukum affect you about Uncle Amos coming back, do you? Of course not. But it served its purpose. Now you'll serve yours.
Harold, look out back of you.
How stupid do you think I am?
Uncle Amos' coffin. It's slipping. Get out of the way.
Get out of the way, Harold.
Get out of the way. Move.
So ends tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural.